All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and praise God for another day. And let's go ahead and have a look-see at AMC and see why this is a real run versus stuff that it's done in the past few months. Why that didn't qualify for anything but structure. There was never any breakout in any indicator. And let's look at some past runs on AMC just to show, what I'm talking about. So see this red line I put on the MACD? See how when AMC trounces over that, it gets a peak and then it falls below, and then immediately the MACD rolls over, it goes negative. And see how all this time for the last few years that you have more peaks and more time spent under the center line, right? Here, this being the center line, right? This deal right here. So when that's going on, that's a bearish thing, right? So what we've done recently is had these big periods of time where we've held up. See how these just peaked real quick and slammed back under center line. Well, now we went up and then we've made another high over the center line and then just went under briefly and then held up and held over the center line for some time. None of these instances, except for this tried, but it just failed. This peaked straight away and went negative. This was a double top. The only other instance where we've done anything similar to this was back here in 2024. So what basically happened, and I'll show you real quick. Let's get our drawing tool out, is that the MACD made a chart pattern. It made it inverted head and shoulders, guys. Just like any other chart pattern, you could say it mimicked what this was doing. You could call this kind of a hybrid inverted head and shoulders. You could call it a little cup and handle, which would be probably more accurate. Let's just do that because that's what AMC likes to do, like either a rounded bottom. Like this is basically a baby cup and handle, right? That's all it ever was. It's a rounded bottom with a baby cup. That's what you could call it. And you could call this a bigger, much, much bigger cup and handle comparative. Look at the size difference, guys. Size matters. So then we're finishing our handle. We're still not above 258, which would wipe out any idea. Well, there we go. We just went over 258. So the stock just proved me wrong. So yeah, we were working on this handle, right? So you could say here that you had this pattern down here that matched this pattern up here, that when it broke through this kind of zone, this 0.1 on the MACD, 0.12, that's when you had your big run. Well, let's convert that to current day terms. So let's look at the bigger pattern. So what do we have? We have, again, inverted head and shoulders on the MACD. So when you had that, what did you do? You had a head down here, and then you came up, made a rally, and then had a higher low and a second higher low, and you took off and broke through this 0.3, or you broke through these previous highs on the MACD. And what did price do when you did? It went straight up. It went straight up. Let me take off my drawing tool. And what do you have? You have a giant cup and handle, which is dwarfs what we saw in 2024. And then on the MACD, what do you have? We're right at the bottom of the trend line. It's trending up. We've been coiling and basing underneath this breakout line, and it's pointing straight up today. It's starting to point straight up. So we haven't broke this zone to break out on the MACD yet, but we're facing right at it. We just crossed this center line on the channel. So to me, this breakout of the MACD will be somewhere, this 1.13 or whatever, will get us somewhere above this 84. And I believe at this center line, which could happen, it depends on price, how quick price starts moving, how quick this will go up. But I believe this center line gets us over 3 to 4 at least. So I believe when we break this, yeah, we're over. This is probably 290 to 305 when we break out. And then when we get up to here, this could be 4 to 6 on the price. Could break out of this top channel at 341. And then if we flash through the top of this whole channel, that's when you're squeezing, and that's when you can be, 9, 10, 15, 20 on the price. So we have the absolute most beautiful setup here. We're trending up for the final breakout of the MACD, which will start the vicious part of the run. All this was buildup. All this was carving a bottom, and this is just structure now for the real first leg. So now we're hitting 261. We're about to go through the high a day. This MACD has not budged here while we're doing that, right? So that tells me that there's all this is room to run. So people ask me, what's your price target? What what are we going to sell at, or what? Well, this has to start moving and break out. And then it has to go through here, and then it has to get up here and maybe possibly break out here as well. And in 2024, the MACD, as you can see here, the peak was at 1.26. Folks, today we're at 0.07. So that's like the stock's trading at 7 cents, and it went to $1.20, right? We haven't even started. That's the thing. We haven't started. So the slower this MACD moves is the bigger the run is going to be. And it hasn't even budged. What's going to make it budge? I think the break of this top channel at 350 or 320 to 340, somewhere around here. That's when this is going to start to move and go maybe straight up or whatever it's going to do. And then when it starts getting up to 87, the top of this channel, to 120, which was the high of the 2020, that's when, the stock might be finding a top. But down here, nothing's happened yet, guys. Nothing. There's no confirmation. This is the first breakout on the stock. From all this cup and handle, base, carving and bottom, blah, blah, blah. The first leg. Now, does it go here to 87 and pull back? Does it go to 124 and pull back? Does it go something crazy, to 2? I think in 2021, I can only tell, guys, if I flip it on the 4-hour chart. So let's do that. But just a comparison, that's not going to work. But yeah, you can see here something similar. It says 0.84. So we haven't even got a reading in since 2024 over 0.25. Our highest reading on this MACD was 0.23. So today on this chart, look at that. It's showing the breakout now on this 4-hour chart. So it's showing we can literally go straight up, it's breaking this range. So it's showing we could go up to 0.82, that we're just curling up, and we're getting over this zone. So showing as soon as today we can move quicker. Also goes right in line with my parabolic line here that we back tested the other morning. I'm like, here, we're going to start the run, and blah, 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 and all that stuff, right? So anyway, guys, that's today's video. Just another way to use your MACD, your indicators, your everything to kind of give you some further insights. Is this a real run? How far can we go? Well, the indicators haven't started to move, guys. They haven't started to move. Until we get over these previous highs on the MACD, we haven't started our leg up. And we're just now getting over this kind of critical zone today that really gets us moving. So on the 4 hour, you saw back on the lower time frame. So we're just getting over this critical zone. So we're just, and it's trending real nice. There's no ramp up and peak. There's no, just kind of like this. It's just trending. It's just trending. So we're just trending, but we haven't even started.